Two friends meet up to drink some beers and talk about past times. Not yesterday, but long ago, it's scandals, wars and crimes. From Stalin's reign to prohibition, Tudors, Pompey, Bush and NASA's mission, Edison's spoke, Genghis Khan's rise to victory. Forget your old teacher, it's time for Pint-Sized History.
Hallo und willkommen zu die Pint-Sized History Podcast. Heute Folgen ist von Rise of the Nazi.
Nice.
Part 2.
That was good.
Here we are.
You almost had me.
Ich heiße Zach.
Cheers. Wow, how do you say crate in German?
I said ich heiße Zach, Joe. You didn't then say...
Oh, and I'm Joe.
So welcome back to the Pint-Sized History Podcast, the podcast where we talk you back through the landmark events in the past that shape the world we live in today over a refreshing alcoholic beverage. And thanks definitely to go to Crate Brewery, who Joe loves so much. Why do you love Crate Brewery, Joe?
Because their beers are tasty and they give us free ones. So it's a very nice combination.
They don't give us free ones. Yeah. We do it anyway.
We get to enjoy the camaraderie of a crate while we talk about some history.
And they're always delicious and sustainably produced.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you'd like to go to their website and type in the code Pint-Sized15, that's P-I-N-T-S-I-Z-E-D 15, not 50, 15, you can get your hands on a lovely crate beer for a 15% discount. So go over there now and support the podcast. Joe, we're back for part 2, and I'll tell you what, I love part 1. It is, like I said, top 2 history, and I think we left it before with Hitler in prison. Yeah. In Munich.
Well, no, actually not prison. So I know I mentioned prison, but we're actually going to talk a tiny bit about what happens before he goes to prison. So Hitler is on trial at the moment, tried for high treason, which is a pretty bad crime, as you can imagine, and the Nazis are at risk of being disbanded. So as you can imagine, Hitler cleverly uses the trial as an opportunity, as do a lot of opportunists, not just right-wingers, but just politicians in general. They will use whatever they can to their advantage.
Like Marine Le Pen using her current arrest as signs of political corruption, saying they're trying to kill her.
Exactly.
Not kill her, but kill her career.
Kill her career. That's a very good point. It's lots of politicians do this, and they kind of discredit any system that's trying to push them back.
I did think it was a good thing that Marine Le Pen was arrested and found guilty and now can't stand as president. But maybe in the long run, it's going to prove to be a much worse thing.
I'm honestly not sure if those things are ever good or bad, but I will say I just think there's at least the positive that in terms of history, there will be that mark.
Yeah.
In history books, they will see it.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't do much in the end. So, he uses the trial as an opportunity. Apparently, he does these dramatic speeches saying that this is an outrage, that he isn't a traitor but a patriot. He is trying to save the country from the pathetic situation that they're in. He's trying to save the nation from this awful Treaty of Versailles. If anyone is against me as Hitler, then it's them that are the problem. Anyone that votes, that's putting me on trial for this stuff, they are the issue, not me. Remember, he has just got his fame, just now. So for the first time, he is being broadcast at the national level, and he's now using this opportunity to say, they are the corruption. I'm the innocent one. I'm the one that's trying to help you, the German people. Everyone else is shit.
Me. That's what I'm hearing, Joe.
Apparently, his first opening statement is 4 hours long, or just under 4 hours long. Imagine getting into the courtroom.
I've fallen asleep about 5 minutes in.
Into the courtroom, and you're like, right, okay, should be quick. High treason, bloody hell, all right, let's get this started. All right, Adolf, coming in, and he starts screaming.
Gentlemen and ladies of the jury,
it's like, oh, God.
We're at a crossroads.
Like, surely someone could have
One
just
more
gone,
Jew in the State Department.
Like, that shows you how weak the system must have been. Could not one person just gone, all right, that's enough. That's enough. We're 2 hours in. Yeah. You can chill out a bit. 3.5 hours, or just under 4.
It must have been a sympathetic judge, right?
Yes, that's a good point. So part of the reason why this is a trial that doesn't end up with a death penalty is that apparently the judge is a right-leaning sympathiser to the cause.
Oh, so the Roberts Court.
Yeah, he is. Well, exactly. He is. This is not the court that maybe it should have been. So yeah, you have to understand that the high-ups, the judiciary, the bigwigs, the politicians, everyone doesn't see Hitler as a problem. They see him in many ways as a laughingstock. He's so ridiculous. He's so anti-establishment.
Silly moustache.
Silly moustache. No one has seen someone like this ever get particularly far up. There's no chance that someone like this could ever pose a threat. They don't realise that the undercurrent of society at a much more basic level, is there's a lot of resentment that has nowhere to put it, and all of a sudden this is someone that is getting that broadcast, that way to broadcast their own voice and to be that vessel for people to feel those grievances. And no one at the top level, and again, this is a problem, for example, with Brexit, I don't think many people that Remain really recognised the threat and the undercurrent that was people feeling aggrieved and not knowing where to put it, and suddenly they have a cause that they can put behind it, which is the European bigwigs and all this stuff. Hitler literally latches on to this idea that the establishment is the problem and he is anti-establishment, and that is a key part to what gets into
Hitler
where
or
he
Trump,
is.
sorry.
Yeah, I know. I know. Hitler is trying to portray himself as one of them, one of the people. So he's given a 5-year sentence for high treason.
A remarkably short sentence.
It is
for high
remarkably short.
treason.
Well, it's even shorter because he gets 9 months for good behaviour.
Oh, nice.
9 months. So within
I
a
bet
year,
he was exceptionally well behaved, though.
apparently his prison sentence was amazing. Apparently he had
Really?
he had these he was treated like a legend. He goes to this centre and he's able to have drinks and food. He had parties in his place.
Really?
Yeah, he's able to meet with his friends and they come
Nice.
over and stuff. He's
Good
like,
on you,
it's not a
Eddie.
problem. It's not a problem at all. Yeah, it's literally like this
Addy,
9 months.
Addy, maybe? Robin Kitty?
Good on you, Addy. He serves basically the chillest 9 months of prison.
Yeah.
9 months is a good amount of time, though, to write a book, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he decides
is.
this is a chance. And this is a
Why
problem.
is that striking familiar tones?
This is a problem for Hitler, is that the Nazi Party doesn't actually have a written down manifesto of what it is that they are. They kind of just do whatever Hitler tells them. And so he thought, well, you know what? Why not write a book? I can try and personalize it. I'll talk about because Mein Kampf, his book, is my struggle in English. And it's essentially his way of saying, this is my life story, because remember, he's very egotistical at this point. But he basically undertones what he's talking about with his own personal experiences with his, really horrible rhetoric and views. So he's kind of like, my daddy was mean to me, so I hate the Jews. It's that type of thing. It's like, Jews are bad because my daddy beat me up. You know,
he did.
World War One.
Did Daddy whack Kitty?
Yeah. His dad was.
Daddy whacked Daddy?
His dad was a pretty horrible geezer.
Really?
Yeah.
So do we have Hitler's dad to blame for the Holocaust?
Not for the Holocaust, but for some of the shit that the world had to deal with. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. This is the problem with child abusers. You never know who they're going to become. On top of all the other moral issues of being a child abuser.
I think John was just very chill, besides not knowing
if they're gonna,
psychology of the child.
If your kid's going to turn to Hitler. Yeah, of course, look.
Can we preface, we are abhorred by child abuse, if that isn't obvious.
Yeah, look, my point just being that, this was not a good thing to do from the dad, and Hitler uses it. He uses it as fuel. His hateful rhetoric. He uses this, horrible abuse that he suffered as his dad. It's like a fuel that he uses at these speeches. He drones out this drivel where it's so loud and exaggerated and dramatic, and he uses that energy that he kept pent in as a child. Clearly, like this hatred that had been forged within him. So yes, he writes heavily about that, and it's really here that his issues with Jews, with his anti-Semitism, really comes forward. Before this, we know he had it. We know he hates Jews, but it's here that he really describes how they are awful, how they are subhuman, why they are the root cause of all evil, and that the world would be a much better place if they ceased to exist. He uses extreme language in this book. This is not a type of book that would get published today, you'd hope. A book that says that Jews should be exterminated.
Well, the winds are changing, Joe.
Possibly it would. I mean, it's crazy to think. I don't think 10 years ago a book like that could ever get written, but maybe in today's market there is somehow that's allowed.
Like if Tommy Robinson got banged up and put in prison, which he has done many times, you can imagine him writing a book about Islamophobia, basically, in the exact same vein, and it taking the exact same popularity.
Yeah. It's a bit worrying to think that kind of thing could happen again, but for now, since then, this is not a type of... This is a weird book. This is extreme. This is really, really... And it didn't sell well. Apparently it flopped. Really? Barely anyone... Apparently there were more Nazi members than people that actually bought it. So, not every Nazi bought it.
Yeah, that's kind of strange, that.
You say that, and this is something that's quite interesting. Part of the problem in these 9 months for Hitler is that all of a sudden, Germany's actually in quite a good place. The Weimar Republic taking in American loans, literally taking in these hordes of money from the Americans to pay off all this debt. And for the first time, similar to a lot of Europe and a lot of the Western world, the economy is booming. It's the roaring 20s. The German workers... they're vibing. German workers are back to business.
Roaring 20s.
They're cooking. They've got these foreign loans, and the country's kind of going like, man, things really sucked, but you know what? Like, things are good now. Like, fuck Hitler. Fuck this stupid stuff. I'm not buying that book. Why do I care? I've got a job now. My family are fed. You'd hope once Hitler is released, he'd go... you know what? Fair enough. Happy Germany, happy me. I'm done. We're good.
Happy Germany, happy Eddie.
No, of course not. He's an ambitious, insecure little runt of a man that decides, you know what? Even if Germany's happy, unless I'm in power, then we're not done. So he starts going across, like saying, look, you might be happy now, but things are not that great. Like things could turn in a dime. The country, this is not what you want. He basically goes from place to place trying to shout the cause of Nazism and realizes no one's listening. So he goes back with his insider group and he goes, look, we need to change how we work. Everyone considers us these idiots, these thugs that will fight and beat up people for the sake of our stupid revolution that frankly got embarrassed in the center of Munich. So we need to find a new path. Let's legitimize ourselves by and this is a thing that Mussolini did as well, which was once he got into power, he made sure that everything he did was much more normal, by the book, seemed right, but underneath he still had all the same shady dealings, corruption, bribes, and beating up people. It was still there. It was always there, but in the streets, he is a good man.
Freaking the sheets, normal in the streets.
Yes, exactly. And so Hitler decides to improve his self-image. He wears much sharper clothes, and he takes, he only wears to rallies, he only wears his brown suit. He practices public speaking in the mirror, and he basically just goes on this big rebrand.
Like Rocky.
A fascist Rocky.
Now to live.
Lebensraum. He starts really. He gets, this is his this is Rocky period. At the same time as Hitler deciding he needs a new image, coincidentally, a young German writer who has witnessed Hitler's failed coup in Munich reads about the dramatic speeches that he's been making on trial and has found himself agreeing with an awful lot of Mein Kampf. Who is it?
Well, it's you, it's Joe.
It's Joseph Goebbels. Yes, it's Joseph Goebbels. It's not me, it's Joseph Goebbels. The physically inept, undoubtedly clever, awfully anti-Semitic runt of a rat of a man.
I think you would do a great job as Nazi propagandist, Joe.
I feel like... I hope so.
I feel like whatever Goebbels can do, you can do better.
Yeah, hopefully not as slimy as him though. Jesus Christ, he was.
Is it his appearance which makes him feel slimy?
No, it's all of him.
Because it's a slime.
No, he is.
He's literally got slime all over him.
He is horrible. You're gonna love this. It's honestly his obsession with Hitler is
simpy.
It's weird.
Like if he was an OnlyFans model, he'd be subbing.
Yeah,
hard.
he'd
be buying 12-month Twitch tiers.
Mate, he's genuinely simping. Listen to this. So he's got a diary, of course. So Goebbels finally meets Hitler. Over a year after joining into the Nazi party, and he apparently writes in his diary, "He is everything I have ever hoped for and more. I love him. He has thought through everything." Do you want to hear some more? Because we got more.
I definitely do.
He wrote a lot about Adolf.
Let me just relax into it.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Because this is something. This is one after meeting him one day. He goes, "Great joy. He greets me like an old friend. How I love him. What a fellow. Then he speaks. How small I am. Heil Hitler. I want Hitler to be my friend." I'm not taking the piss. I'm not. That is real. That is Joseph Goebbels wrote that about Adolf Hitler.
What a fucking dweeb, honestly, man. What a weirdo.
Right, you want another one?
He would be an incel in today's environment.
I'm getting incel vibes. He would be
sat there watching Pokimane, 15-hour,
donating
24-hour Twitch streams, subbing, getting text-to-speech. I love you so much, Pokimane.
I want you to be my friend, Pookie. In another meeting, he goes, "Such a sparkling mind that can be my leader. I bow to the greater one, the political genius." And here's a final one. "Adolf Hitler, I love you because you are both great and simple at the same time. What one calls a genius." All of that is true. That's all he wrote in his diary.
It's also he's called his idol.
Yeah,
simple in the same breath.
It's kind of like how you describe me when I'm not in the room.
I go to Karen and I go, "God damn, that podcast episode.
That Joe,
he had a way with those words. I love him. I want to be him.
Simple at the same time.
I sit across looking at his jeans and his t-shirt. The fashion sense. It's unbelievable."
Look, for all the piss taking we can do about Goebbels, and we can do a lot because he is horrible.
Yeah.
It has to be said, he was a political mastermind.
Yeah.
A propaganda mastermind is a better way of saying it. He is someone that was
Alistair
able to.
Campbell.
Sure. He is someone that's able to understand how the media works, how people's minds work, and how to get a message to people. And not only that, but he is an extremely hard worker. Apparently, he literally works around the clock all the time, pushing the agenda.
Yeah, he's working with lo-fi beats in the background. Adolf Hitler's Twitch stream going 24 hours, subbing, resubbing, and then just chilling out and doing a bit of propaganda work on the side.
It's true. He's doing all those things. So Goebbels is transforming the national conversation. He is change. You know, he's exactly the man that Hitler needs while he's doing this rebrand. He's constantly talking about anti-establishment, fresh ideas, and it is working. If you're looking at the visual podcast, you'll see that behind us we have a march. This is actually an anniversary of the Munich Beer Hall Putsch, which was the failed attempt, the coup that he did in the previous episode. This is basically the Nazis treated this event like it was a major moment, a triumph for Nazism and a proud moment in the country's history. In reality, it was not like that. It was an embarrassment. But they treated it as if it was cool. So what they did was every year, every anniversary, they would march that same route into Munich and they would lay down things for the fallen Nazis that died. I don't know if there's many Nazis you can see that are recognisable, but there is definitely Hitler in the middle.
I think
and
Goering's next to
yes,
him.
Goering, I'm sure, is also there just to the left, our visual left of Hitler. The brown shirts that are surrounding this picture are now becoming, they're around the same time as this picture's been taken, they're now becoming a bit of a problem for Hitler. Because
What year is this? Like 19...
So 2022, 2023 was when all the economic stuff was really bad and Hitler does the push. 1924 is when he gets sent to prison and he's leaving at the end of 1924 and everything's on the up. Everyone's vibing. Okay. Within a year, everything's back to normal. So it's in these early 24, 25
years. And then Goebbels joins in
24.
24.
Yeah.
And then they start building up the Grand Party, so the SA, the Nazis, so membership starts growing.
Exactly. They realise they need to start building the party image in a different way. Yeah. They start doing all these things to change the image. And this is where Hitler realises the SA aren't going to work. The brown shirts are already seen as thugs, and they can be kind of annoying. You know, they're kind of in the way a lot of the time. They're
let's
not really
fight,
working.
let's drink, let's...
You know, also like brown, it's not really like that cool colour. You just kind of look a bit like grim and drinky and like a drunk that's like, hey, come over here, let me beat you up. It's like, they're not cool. They don't serve the image that he's trying to portray.
What would be a cool colour?
Classy.
Red?
Well, the cool colour is black.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they decide to do.
Can never go wrong with black.
They need men standing beside Hitler, you know, in these types of photos that look classy, that look imperial, that look like the kind of Germans that they would feel proud to be alongside.
They've certainly
which is
missed
why
them, then.
this classy brigade that he's looking for, they create, and they call it the Schutzstaffel. Is that right?
Schutzstaffel.
Schutzstaffel, which is, of course...
The SS.
The SS. The infamous, awful, disgusting, barbaric SS. This is how they're created. Essentially,
say what you want about the SS, but goddamn their fucking style.
Yes, well they do.
They looked good.
I am going to talk about
really
that.
Good.
They did look really good, and this was
while they were committing atrocities after
but
atrocities.
But now you get it. Have you noticed how like we always say like, oh man, they did have nice style, those guys, and it's like, well, yeah, because this was the reason they needed to be legitimized, and they thought, how do we become legitimized? Well, Hitler, when he's standing and they take photos of him at these rallies, he needs to have people standing next to him that look like the type of people that should be ruling the country. These cool guards that, so apparently, and this is really interesting, he infuses his ideology, his awful racist ideology around, you know, people, the Aryan race, descent, and how the perfect race, the mother race, eugenics, and all that stuff, he utilizes it in this. So if you were to become an SS officer or a member of the SS, you had to prove your Aryan descent.
Really?
You had to prove that you were of some...
I thought you just had to be like the elite.
No, well, yeah, I mean, they would have trained you to be the elite, but more importantly, you had to prove that you were Aryan, German, full-blooded, pure-blooded German. And by doing that, they wanted to essentially hire this group that were tall, menacing-looking, blonde, essentially a way to show this crazy idea, because people hear this idea, Hitler wants these blonde Aryan people to take over the world. They are the pure race. They are the perfect race. But people hear it and go, that's a bit fucking weird, Adolf. Like, that's not really a thing.
Then they see
we don't really need to do it. So what does he do? He puts them in front of a camera next to him, these tall, attractive-looking young German men. They go,
damn, hang on
well,
a second.
to be fair, with those Hugo Boss suits, I can kind of get behind it now. I mean, they kind of look like something, you know? So he's essentially trying to appeal and normalize this idea. And he uses the SS as a vessel for it. And I never knew that. I never realized that that's why the SS look as scary and suave as they do. Hugo Boss is actually a Nazi party member who is asked, he's you know, ordered to create this outfit. You know, this black boots, black, suave, tailor-made suit. And most importantly, the cap with the nice shiny bit at the front and the skull and crossbones. Are we the baddies? It's those. It's
Hands.
You know, it's
Are we the baddies?
Are we the baddies? That is the look, and that's why they're trying to do it. It's menacing. It's in your face, but it's still imperial and classy, and that's what they were trying to achieve.
It's hard not to just like empathize a bit and go, damn. I want one of those outfits.
Yeah, it's a shame they were so
They ruined
awful.
it. They really
did
ruined
ruin
it.
Like, they would be cool outfits, but you
Yeah.
can't wear them because, like, fuck, the Nazis
And that
sucked.
little, like, tuft. You know, the
No.
facial hair.
That's not coming back.
The tuft.
The Charlie Chaplin tuff is not coming back. I'm
No,
sorry.
the Adolf Hitler tuft, really.
Well, of course, but you know, it's like that wasn't that like Charlie Chaplin looked like an idiot. Like, come on, that is not a nice piece of.
I think if we didn't know about, like, Hitler and Charlie Chaplin, you know, someone living in, like,
Would you?
Dalston might have done it. And then when you're like, oh, God, everyone in Dalston, they're drinking their Guinnesses, they got the tuft on their upper lip. Maybe I do it too.
Nah.
You wear your hat that doesn't really fit properly and your long baggy jeans with a little tuft.
Nah. I don't think that's ever a nice look. I think most moustaches don't look great. I think there's certain moustaches.
Hang on, man.
I didn't say yours. I'm just saying most, and you've kind of got a beard moustache.
I'm going to go back to
It's
this.
like they're
It's
not.
because I recently fully shaved, which I don't really
Yeah.
do very often. But I'm going to have this moustache back in a second.
Next
week.
A second. Where
be
are the
right-
razors? The Nazi Party is once again growing at a dramatic rate compared to before, and this is where Hitler gets one crucial, and I really mean crucial, economic message absolutely spot on. He argues that the loans that the Weimar Republic are using to boom the German economy, you know, part of the reason why everyone's so happy right now, this boom, are being propped up by American money, and if that money were to suddenly stop, and he predicts that it would, then the Germans would fall right back into a depression, and arguably a worse one than the one they had in 1922 or 23. And that is crucial because essentially it's quite a risky strategy, because you're essentially, you know, you're basically saying my pure economic strategy is telling you that you're feeling good and you shouldn't feel good because that could stop. It's like, that's not a winning message. That's not going to get you anywhere unless it ends up being correct. It's risky in the sense that it basically shows that, like, unless this very precise prediction comes true, then they're just going to be left in the dust. No one's going to care about the Nazis.
Yeah.
They're just not. They're not going to do enough with this.
Like people saying the world would end in 2012.
And he pushes it. He actually apparently describes this situation as the country dancing on a volcano. That's his words that he uses for it.
Very evocative.
If people hear this and in the conversation they're going, well, why do we care? My family's eating. We're gaining our pensions back again. The 1928 election happens, and the Nazis actually do worse than they did in 1924. They get like 1% of the national vote for the parliament. It's like they do nothing. They're so fringe. If anything, they were in a better state when the country was in a worse spot. And now that the country's doing well, they're gaining less of the vote than ever.
Right now, they're the monster raving looning party.
No, right now they're UKIP. Before UKIP and Brexit happened. What was the one before UKIP? No, BNP.
BNP.
Fuck.
Who was,
Remember the BNP, man?
Nick Griffin.
Simple
Was
times.
that his name, Nick Griffin?
Simple times. God, I remember looking at the BNP and going like, fuck, they're so weird, but like they're so fringe, it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
And now like it's mainstream. So then suddenly the Great Depression hits, and it hits the world. Now we briefly touched on it in the Prohibition episode, how it completely changes the world because, you know, the American economy crashes, and by proxy, everywhere else is suddenly under a big issue. The stock market crashes, which is funny because, you know, at the moment we are dealing with stock market issues that are happening right now in America. So it's very interesting to see, like,
because of Trump's tariffs, not because
yeah,
of
you know, my point being is that, like, it's just I'm not actually drawing any parallels, like, as if there's something that connects them. I'm actually just
You
saying,
have been, though.
I
You
have
have been the
throughout
entire
episode.
way.
I'm just saying in this example, it's just interesting that, like, yeah, this is literally how the stock market crashes, and you see how it affects everywhere. And, you know, it was the same in current day. What is happening in, you know, the moment with Trump and these tariffs is affecting every country, little or small. Every country is affected. And in Germany, in 1929, they are hit arguably the hardest, or one of the hardest of any
they're so
country.
dependent on US loans.
Well, they're so dependent on US loans, and when
the US
American
stock market
banks
crash.
are struggling for money, what do? They recall their loans
Yeah.
immediately and ask for reimbursement. So suddenly, not only did the Weimar Republic not have that money anymore, but now they need to pay that off, and they're like, shit.
They've also got the Versailles Treaty as well.
The Versailles Treaty is still there. They're fucked. Germany is suddenly in a worse place than they were before. And, you know, you think, like,
Guess who got it right?
imagine, well,
Guess who knew that was going to happen?
Exactly.
The man dancing on the volcano.
Exactly.
Adolf Hitler!
like a dance.
Weighing in at 200 pounds.
fuck's sake.
The lightweight champion of Germany.
Exactly, but that is it. That's exactly it, and that's the fucking problem. Is that, like, this prediction that it shouldn't have gone right, Hitler actually got it spot on, and it's frustrating because, you know, all these. Imagine, like, the working class now can't afford to buy bread again, and they fucking hate it because their children are hungry. That's one thing on its own. But imagine as well for, say, the middle class that have lost their pensions, lost their
savings.
stocks. They've lost it all in 1924 or 23, and now they're finally, after many years, bringing it back up. And then it's gone again. It's like, well, fuck, that was a shitty time, but at least we got our money back. We can now be able to do things again. And now it's all gone all over again. And they think, well, this is just a pattern. This is a loop. And how are we going to get away from this? The establishment is not working for us because the establishment is creating a loop that will not cut. So we need someone that's different.
Yeah. And this is 1929, this happens.
Yes.
The
And
Great
it would
Depression.
go into 1930.
Yeah. It just takes like one flashpoint, doesn't it? Like in world politics, it's always one thing, like one critical thing, and it's usually like it's quite a simplification of it. Usually, it's like a myriad of factors that come together with one
But
big
there's
igniting
catalysts.
point. Yeah,
There are catalysts, and this is one of them.
you got to think we're kind of staring down the barrel of one right now.
Yeah, the tariffs will be a catalyst in some
Yeah,
way
absolutely.
or form to whatever politics happen over the next 10 years, 100%. And we won't know it now, but we'll find out soon enough what those implications
We're
are.
in a fucking exciting time. Like it is like a
And
travesty.
worrying.
Yeah, like it's scary and worrying, but like taking all that aside, and of course for many millions of people across the world, it won't be an exciting time. But like for a pure historic element to it, like history books are getting written as we speak. Like everything's happening with the Russian war in Ukraine, Trump's tariffs, the European reaction, the UN being a threat, NATO being a threat.
Yep.
It's all just like lots of things are happening very, very quickly.
Yeah.
A good time to start a history podcast, I'd say.
Is it though? Should have started a politics one. For
podcast.
fuck's sake, missed the boat. I'd argue, even if it is exciting, it's obviously worrying, and I know you also think it's worrying. I'd argue that this is more interesting, just purely in the sense that the world is like congregating at such a rate. It's like fast forward. And to be fair, it might be that case. It might be that case for us in the current day with the speed that everything seems to be going. Trump, since getting elected, has done a bunch of policies straight away. You know, unlike his first time, this time round, he is setting motion things as soon as he enters the building. And funnily enough, that is also something that Hitler does when he takes power. Is he starts stuff immediately. And so it is exciting in the sense that there's so much change happening in such a quick period of time. It kind of makes you wonder, like, man, there were really like decades where barely anything happened, and all of a sudden it feels like every week there's a new huge news story. And this is what it would have been like for, you know, not necessarily a German who's in the middle of it, but so, you know, a Brit that's reading the news would be like, fuck, Germany,
Christ, yeah.
There's another election, or damn,
Who's this guy?
Who's
He's
this
got
guy
fucking
that's
stuff.
yelling? Yeah, fascinating to look at, extremely distressing, but it is certainly interesting to look back on, which is why we're talking about it and really enjoying talking about it.
Also, apologies for getting political this episode as well. I know many of you probably don't like it, so we'll try and steer off the politics chat for at least the rest of this
We've
episode.
gone so political, and now you say we'll try and slow it down. Yeah,
I think the last couple of episodes we have done topics that are like quite close to home, so it's been very easy to get political with them.
So what happens when all these problems are happening with economic instability is extremism. Once again, when moderate politics don't work, then we need a different solution. And people turn... Well, why wouldn't you turn to the genius that has predicted this crash early? You know, literally before anyone else was saying this, he was the one shouting it, screaming it with his big loud voice that this is a mistake. And not only is this genius in their eyes saying it, but he's also blaming Jewish money and Jewish finance for this. So if you're, someone that's not particularly interested in politics, but just getting really pissed off at how shit the state of the world is, and there's suddenly this prophet that has predicted this out of nowhere, and he's the only one that's been doing it, and he's been there for a while, and you kind of noticed him, but you kind of don't really agree with his views, and he's a bit strange. But now you're like, oh, fuck it, actually, he kind of was onto something with that one. Maybe he's right about the other stuff. And then he tells you about this massive conspiracy with these people behind the scenes that are ruining life for everyone. More and more, you can see why people go, well, maybe he's right. Maybe that is the way. Maybe the Jews are at fault. He's
validated himself, hasn't he, by getting a crazy prediction right, which no one else saw coming.
And he needed it. I don't think any of this would have happened if he hadn't got that right. So that was really, really important.
Do Mein Kampf say it was...
I actually don't know. I imagine, yeah, sure.
He's doing like book signings at Waterstones.
Honestly, probably. Now, I'm sure for everyone at home, even if you're not a history buff or particularly interested in this period of history, for example, I'm sure that you still can picture in your head a Nazi rally in the 1930s. From a kid or from a documentary or from whatever, I'm sure in your mind you can see the image of, all those people standing, the big salutes, the colour, the extravagant Hitler in his outfit, talking and gesturing in many, many crazy ways. And I imagine that for many of you, similar to myself, and I don't know for you, Zach, you might have thought to yourself during that time, how did this happen? How could people look at these huge crowds that are gathering? How do they all believe this? It doesn't make sense because we weren't there in that time period. Well, after setting the scene of the past decade and a bit, which we've done over this podcast, you can see it a bit more now, can't you? Because since World War I, life in Germany has not been good. It's been awful, it's been tough, it's been unstable, it's been a mess, and the average citizen does not care about politics, does not read, political agendas often, does not involve themselves, as is the case throughout history. They're just normal people that live their lives and want to live their lives and want to be able to spend time with their family and feed them and not have to deal with any of the rest of this mess. The people in power in Germany, are the establishment, are the people that are in control of this. They've sent you to war. The war's now been lost for reasons you don't really understand. And now you're in this mess of being at fault for your proud nation is at fault for the war. And now you have to deal with the consequences yourself, even though you didn't do anything about World War I. You didn't start this war. You as a citizen have been made to deal with all these consequences, this extreme depression that's not just happened once, but twice. The establishment is pushing this agenda that you can't comprehend why it's the case. Also imagine, right, the other politicians that are in Germany at this time, imagine what they look like. They all look the same. They are all bourgeois, big mustaches, upper class, suits, talk weirdly. They do not give the impression that they understand the working person in Germany. Politics is very upper class at this point. It is real, like, we're at the top and you all are subjugates. This is how it's been for all of these people's lifetimes. So this is all they've known. And all of a sudden, they see this man that is completely different from the rest. He talks differently, he dresses differently, he addresses people differently, he acts differently and in his rhetoric, and he talks about things as if they are fresh, fresh ideas, fresh propaganda, fresh, concepts that's never been before in your mind. You see videos and pictures of him at these rallies where he acts all dramatic, and you see the crowds, and you see how much people are getting into this movement, and you have to wonder in that moment, maybe they're onto something. Maybe there is cause to this. And apparently people at the rallies, people would turn up, and this is apparently quite common, at these huge big rallies in Germany at this time period, they would turn up a bit skeptical, being like, okay, I've heard a lot about this guy, I've seen a lot about this guy, but to be honest with you, I bet, I don't know, a lot of it just seems a bit strange.
Overhyped.
And then what happens is, and you might know about this, but Hitler leaves the crowd waiting. This is a very common tactic for Hitler. His speeches, he would always wait 20 minutes, 40 minutes, over an hour, sometimes an hour and a half. They would stand waiting for this guy to stand forward and give the speech. So the anticipation builds, this kind of like, is he going to talk? What's going to happen? What is he not going to come at all? The anticipation builds, and eventually he comes out, and everyone, there's moments like, oh, I can see him, he's coming over to the stage, and he gets out there, and he starts talking slow, and he starts building, and apparently by the end of these big speeches, he is drained with sweat. He apparently has to sit in a dark room and just, sleep until he gets up the next day to do the next speech, because he is on a constant campaign tour. He gives his everything out there. And apparently, for these people, all these people that believe that, I don't know, this is pretty racist, this feels pretty wrong, many of these views, I'm not sure about this guy, he seems like a bit of a dick. They sit there, they feel the atmosphere, the energy of the crowd, and they can't help but be mesmerized by it, and they can't help but find themselves being attached to the fervor and feeling themselves go along for the journey. And within a few hours, you've gained someone, a believer that was a doubter just hours beforehand. My dad's into history, and he would sometimes chuck on documentaries of World War II back in the day on TV. And I remember seeing the dramatic poses. Exactly, and Hitler would shout, and you'd go because obviously we don't speak German, so for starters we're well, I don't know what he's saying. So all I can see is his body language, and you kind of go, it just seems a bit weird. So we're why is everyone so into this? This seems very culty. I don't get it. And it's well, you had to be there, man. It's that is that. It's the atmosphere built, and there was so much anger and resentment that had manifested over such a short time period, only about a decade's worth, that now it's really coming to the front. And Hitler is a genius in the sense that he is able to manipulate this resentment and anger, and he's able to push it forward in whatever he could have fucking hated the Brits rather than the Jews. He might have gone, you know what? It's not the Jews, it's the Brits.
Probably
It's the Celts.
More likely was the Brits.
I mean, we were, the colonial Britain. Yikes! It could have been any country. It could have been any people. It could have been the Muslims. It could have been Arabic people. He could have said they're the problem. And this crowd, under these conditions, would have lapped it up because he was a master at manipulation and a master of persuasion, more so than arguably anyone that we've ever seen. He was a true great at being able to get an audience to believe exactly what he believes. And the German people at that point were ready for it. So when we talk about how Nazis, how German people, how could they ever do this stuff? It seems so barbaric. How could any culture ever, become part of this narrative? It's like, well, actually, there's way more to it that you don't realise. So it's a
culmination of, like, the external factors, the Great Depression, the loss of the First World War, the Treaty of Versailles, the inflation that's hitting them, the lack of opportunity, the kind of moral shame they feel, plus the intense aura and vibes of Adolf Hitler, who is playing immensely on the public morale and encouraging and incensing the entire population. Yeah, and there was that forms like a perfect storm, basically. Yeah, where now everyone's on board. Yeah. So walk me through then what happens. So the Great Depression happens. And so I'm sure there's another election coming up, right? Yeah. He's building popularity.
His popularity is going through the roof at this point because, not only has he got this prediction right, but he's sorted out his outfits. He's sorted out his propaganda. He's sorted out his speech. He's practiced his speech in the mirror. He knows he's got everything to a T. He's made the mistakes of the past and now he's ready to go for it. And his popularity as a result is flying. So Hitler decides to run for the 1932 German presidential election. He is up against the extremely decorated war hero and current president, Paul von Hindenburg.
Hindenburg. The Hindenburg line.
And he loses.
No shit.
Because Hindenburg is like the most famous German.
He is the most famous person in the country probably at the time.
He's the current president for starters, but he is a legend in German people's eyes, a war hero. He is a true definition of it. However, Hitler does not lose by that much. I think it's 13 million votes for Hitler and 19 million for Hindenburg. So
it's not bad.
Hitler is the most popular civilian in the country. Like he is, the only person that's beating him is a decorated war hero who's extremely popular and already the president. That's the only person that's beating him. I believe the Communist Party, which came third, got like 5%. Or maybe even less. Nazism is clearly on the rise. Yeah. In the same year, parliamentary elections elect more Nazis than ever.
It's 1932 this is.
This is the same, 1932, to the German government, which is the Reichstag. Hitler, at this point, requests to be made Chancellor of Germany to Hindenburg, which is one of the most senior roles in the government, but it's not the number one, to be clear, but it is a very senior role.
Just below the president,
right up there, like second, third, something like that. But it's there. Now an ailing old man, Hindenburg, he refuses to bow down to Hitler. He does not trust the man. He is worried that Hitler plans to turn Germany into a dictatorship.
I always thought that Hindenburg was on side, but go on.
So it's becoming quite clear, sadly, that despite his worries, his personal worries, the winds are changing. So Hitler has a meeting with Hindenburg's son, Oscar, and bribes him with offers of land, tax freedoms, and a new status within the army that he, I think he had a break from the army or whatever. So Oscar goes running off to his nice, dying daddy, President Paul, and he goes, listen up, von Hindi daddy man. Listen, I like this Hitler. I think you've got the wrong end of the stick. I think he's a nice guy. I think we can make sure that he is checked and balanced and that he won't become the supreme leader of the entire world. I think we're fine. But
it won't be man in the high tower.
Pretty please, could we uwu?
I want that promotion.
How about we let him be the chancellor? So within a week, he's the chancellor.
Really?
Yeah.
His son just saying, get him on board. It's enough for him to get him on board.
Well, apparently. So this von Hindenburg legend of the German army and all this stuff. So it's like, yeah, good, you had your guts, but you didn't fucking listen to them, did you? You didn't listen to your instinct. You just listen the second your son gives you some, oh, come on, think about the tax freedoms, Dad. Come on, we can make a lot of money from this. He's like, all right.
Money talks, man. Money talks.
Within a week, Hitler is now the new Chancellor of Germany. And when it becomes clear that Hitler won't have enough of an electoral majority to start turning the country into a dictatorship, he finds a way to just go around the system. He creates the Enabling Act. And this is just insane. I didn't realise how ridiculous this is. He literally creates a law, and it states that in the event of a crisis, broad strokes, crisis, whatever the fuck that means, just crisis, The Enabling Act allows the cabinet, which is, whatever he
Mostly
does.
Nazis, probably. That
Well,
point.
it is, yeah. I mean, it's his cabinet. It's him. But so basically, the Enabling Act allows him to enact any legislation, including amending the Constitution, without the consent of the Reichstag or the President. And for 4 years. So in the event of a crisis, any crisis, the current Chancellor and his group can just do anything and not care about anyone. No consequences, just do whatever they want for 4 years. So, on the 23rd of March, 1933, it is signed and it is commenced, including by a very old, dying, sceptical von Hindenburg, who has to sign
you have to get the royal assent or whatever.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Not royal assent, but it has to go Chancellor, then President. They both have to sign.
Oh
it.
yeah. They
to
both
make it
have
law.
to. Yes, exactly. They both have to sign it. So, despite literally, because this is less than 2 months since he hit the Chancellor. So in less than 2 months, he's like, I don't know, that he seems like a bit of a dictator. I'm not sure if I want him in. And all of a sudden, 2 months later, he's signing a document that goes, I'm giving you full totalitarian powers to do whatever you want at any time. So well done, Hindenburg, you daft old git. It's like, fuck me, man. What a way to tarnish your legacy. A legendary career, and you just let the worst man in history to just take over your country as you're about to depart.
Let's not blame Hitler's dad anymore. Let's blame Hindenburg.
So
cool name though.
It is a good name.
We like a good name
It is a good
on
name.
PSH.
I agree.
And it's a fantastic one. And I'll tell you who his because there were two main supreme generals in the German army in First World War, and they both got great names. So you got von Hindenburg and you got Erich Ludendorff.
That's a good name.
It's a great name.
Yeah, the Germans got some great names. It's got to be said. Not Hitler though.
No.
The act is passed. It takes some doing, some coercing of people, whatever, but he gets it there. Hitler has this all of a sudden free ability to just get rid of any democratic process he wants.
If there's an emergency.
Oh, there's an emergency right now because the country is in extreme debt. So let's just start it now. Here we go. We're in a crisis. Straight away. Crisis. Hitler very quickly is just able to wreak democratic havoc. He just gets rid of all the systems, piece by piece, dismantles everything that can oppose him. And from this period on until the end of the war, I think it's quite fair to, when you talk about Germany, to refer to them as Nazi Germany, because this is Nazi Germany. This is the state of the world once Hitler is in power. To end this discussion, 1 year after that Enabling Act is done, and 1 year into the damage that the Nazi Party are now inflicting on the German government and therefore the German people, and democracy is getting eroded just like that, 1934, Paul von Hindenburg dies of lung cancer in his own home at the age of 86 years old. Hitler, hearing that this might be about to happen, has already prepared a new order. On the day of Hindenburg's death, a motion titled "The Law Concerning the Head of State of the German Reich" was passed through the German cabinet. The law abolished the office of President of Germany, thereby making Chancellor the new supreme leadership of the country. Hitler branded his new title the Fuhrer. And that's it.
That's it. That's the rise of the Nazis. So Hitler's now in power of the country. It's the cabinet are mostly Nazis. He's enacted this law that gives him complete and total power to do whatever he wants, gets rid of any other vestiges of power, and consolidates it under his own title of Fuhrer. And that sets the scene for what's to come next with the invasion of Europe and the extermination of Jews in the Holocaust.
Yep.
And that's the basis of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, there's...
It's frightening. It's so simple how, it's all quick. Really quick, really simple.
Yeah.
It's just he's had his way with one person. Luckily, in most modern Western countries, there are far greater checks and balances on power than that now. But
It's still been eroded.
Yeah, we'll not go back to Trump.
But it's not. But it's not. Yeah, it's not as bad as 1930s Germany. But that is. I will say, to be fair, that the most famous thing about Hitler's history is the World War II and his actions during World War II. But even this story ends in 1934, and there's still 5 years before the war begins in Poland in 1939. So there's still 5 years of Hitler and the Nazis and what they do in government in Germany, including in Olympic Games, if you remember, in 1936.
Absolutely, Jesse Owens
and all that. So there's plenty of material to talk about before World War II were to begin.
I think we got to do that soon, and I think I'd like to do that soon. Actually, maybe we'll keep you doing it if you'd like to.
I probably make sense.
I really find fascinating the years between 1933 and 1939 because like you get like the Night of the Long Knives, you get Crystal Nacht.
That would have been the very next thing I would have done. Would be Night of the Long Knives.
Night of the Long Knives is so interesting.
Yeah, don't
spoil it for yourselves. We'll come back to it maybe within this season. And you get the Nuremberg rallies and like all that stuff, and it's just crazy what happens. Like before the wars even started. But thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you for telling me all about the rise of the Nazis. I found it thoroughly exhilarating. I love the history of the Nazis because it is, like I said, top 2 history, possibly top 1 history by the Second World War. And yeah, you told us a great story, and thank you for it.
No worries. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you again to Crate Brewery for your sponsorship of this this podcast. Again, if any of you are interested in crate beer, go to the website, Pint-Sized 15, go get yourself a lovely beer, and be sure to like, review, follow, subscribe, comment on all our shit on wherever you watch us.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant.
See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.